Lesson 7, quadratic inequalities in two variables. Last lesson was about shading the graph and we have a linear inequality. Quadratic is whenever there's a power of 2 on the x value, okay? So that's how you'll tell by looking at an equation if you need to draw a straight line or a parabola. You draw a parabola when it's quadratic, right? And when x is to the power of 1, you draw a linear equation. So make sure you know how to differentiate between linear and quadratic equations, okay? So we're going to learn how to draw quadratic inequalities when the inequalities are given to us. Let's say it's quadratic equation in standard form and vertex form, right? So let's say we have a positive curve. Will this be a solid line or a dashed line? Dash. So let's say it's like that, above and then below. Okay, now it says y is less than. Less than means below or above? Below. So it'll be all this shaded region, and then below for this one will be all the shaded region over here. It can be downward or upwards. If the A is negative, then it'll be downwards. We're just looking at different options that we'll have. Now, greater than means we're shading up. And will it be broken or dashed? Sorry, broken or solid? Dashed. Yeah. Okay. So over here, the parabola can be anywhere, right? We don't really know where it is. So we draw it, and because it's greater than, the region over here, all of it is going to be shaded, and below will be everything over here shaded too. This was greater than. So greater than is all this region over here shaded. Okay. Now, less than equal to, so that means it's going to be a solid, and it'll be above or below? Good. So we draw a parabola. Can be anywhere, right? We don't know our vertex, so because it's below, it'll be shaded over here, and it'll be shaded over here. Okay. The next one, greater than, so above, and there's an equal to, so it'll be solid. So again, upward and downward both. And then because it's above, it's going to be this region over here, as long as the parabola keeps going. And then above the parabola, so the region over here. Make sense? Okay, so the parabola in this case is our boundary, right? Whenever we're doing quadratic, we always draw a parabola, not a line, and that's our boundary. Our inequality, whenever an inequality is given to you and you're supposed to figure out the graph of it, just ask yourself two questions. Is it solid or dashed, or is it's above or below? Okay, and then use your test points to figure out if you did find the right solution region. Okay, solution region is the shaded portion over here. Okay, my question to you guys now is, will this point over here be part of the solution? No. What about this point over here? Why not? That wouldn't be a test point, yes. But will it be part of the solution though?
Yes.
Will this be, like, let's say this is the vertex, will this still be part of the solution? No, because it's not an equal to, right? This will be part of the solution because we have a solid line. Everything on that line is part of the solution. We don't take it as a test point because we need to figure out if 1 is the shaded region or 2 is the shaded region, okay? Even on when we did linear inequalities, this boundary won't be part of the solution. This one will be, okay? Okay, now I want you guys to graph this, and I don't want you guys to use a calculator for this one. So if we were to use a calculator, what will you put in the calculator to figure out the graph of it?
Just put like it should just be equal.
Yes, it'll be y equal to. Okay, what's our vertex here? Is this in its vertex form or standard form? Vertex. So remember, it was ax minus p squared plus q, right? So vertex is p comma q. Always remember, p is your x value, not your y value. Don't mix that up. So p will be 1 because that's 1, and q is awesome. What are our other coordinate points? How can I find that? We can put random numbers in, right? So let's put 0 as our x value. So when I do that, it's going to be y is equal to -2, 0 minus 1 squared plus 2, -2, -1 squared is just 1, plus 2 is 0. 0, comma 0 will be one of my points. I already know 1, comma 2, right? I can plug in 2 and figure out what my y value will be. So -2, 2 minus 1 squared plus 2. So -2. 2 minus 1 is just 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, so -2 plus 2 is 0, and that's 2, comma 0. So I got a few points, right? Got 2, comma 0, I got 1, comma 2, and I got 0, comma 0. That would be enough to figure out what my parabola is. Will this be a dashed line or a solid line? Dashed line because it's just less than, right? So let's draw that. Don't forget the arrows, okay? Now, let's find out one more point just to make sure that we did draw the parabola correctly. Let's do x is equal to 3. So y is equal to -2, 3 minus 1 squared plus 2, -2, 2 squared because 3 minus 1 is 2, plus 2, -2 times 4 because 2 squared is 4, -2 times 4 is -8, and that's -6. So 3 and -6. That should be my point. It isn't, so I'm going to change how my parabola looks like. Okay. That's good. Where do you guys think we should shade? 1 or 2? 2, because it is y is less than, so below the curve, okay? Okay, now, will this be part of the solution? Will this be part of the solution? Can I see a thumbs up for yes and thumbs down for no? Why not? It's dotted. Good. Okay. Can I take a test point that's here? Not on the line. Will 1, 1 work as my test point? Okay, so let's put that in our equation. Will I put it in this equation or this equation? 1 or 2? Why 2? Good. You always put it in the original equation. So let's put 1, 1 in there. 1 is less than -2. 1 minus 1 squared plus 2. 1 less than -2. 0 squared. So 1 is less than -2 times 0 plus 2. Anything times 0 is just 0. So 1 is less than 2. Is that correct? That means I did shade it properly. So hence test point in shaded region. Okay. Okay, let's say if the quadratic inequality is not given in a vertex form, what strategies can you use to find the vertex? How can you find the vertex if the equation is not in its vertex form?
Turn it into vertex form?
Change it how? What was what?
Divide by 2, then you gotta square it, and then you put it in, and then you gotta plus that number and then minus the number on the outside of the bracket.
Good. And what is that process called? What's the term of it?
Solving the square.
Something with the square. Completing the square. So you can do completing the square. Or you can use your graphing calculator. Okay. Standard form, just quickly, standard form is this, you guys. This is your standard form. Okay, that's not a process, it's just a term. Okay. And your factored form was something like this. Remember, that was your factored form. Okay. Now, before I give you some time to do that, I just want to go over how would you figure out the equation when a graph is given to you. This is what we did yesterday. So, first thing I ask myself, if I want to make this like the best or the easiest way of finding the equation, would it be standard form you would prefer or vertex form if a graph is given to you already? A quadratic equation. Vertex, yeah, because it's easy to just put P and Q and then find your A value, right? Okay, so what is my P and Q here?
1.
Huh? 1, 3. So that's my vertex. And to find A, how do I find A? We did a lot of questions, including this. Good. Yeah, awesome. So this is a whole number. I'll just take this 0, 5, and I'm going to put it in my equation. So y is equal to x minus 1 squared plus 3. That's all I have right now. I'm going to put my purple point in there. So 0 and 5 is my y value. Oops, I forgot about a. Okay, this will be your a. So I just forgot to write that down. So a is 0, 1 squared plus 3. So 5 is equal to a minus 1 squared plus 3. 5 is equal to -1 squared is just 1. So a plus 3. Subtract 3 on both sides and I get 2 is equal to a. Okay. Now I need to put it in this equation. So y is equal to 2x minus 1 squared plus 3. And that's my actual answer. Okay, so quadratic equations function unit is important for you to do well on these questions as well. what inequality sign will I use? Will it be solid or dashed? Dashed, right? It's dashed. That means that tells me that it shouldn't be equal to, right? It can either be less than or greater than. Which one will it be? Greater than y? Why?
Because it's on the inside,
Yeah.
going up.
It's shaded above the parabola. So y is greater than 2x minus 1 squared plus 3. And that's my final answer of this question, you guys. You find your quadratic equation, and then you figure out what the inequality will be. 2 steps. Figuring this out might be a 2-step 2, right? Vertex, find another point, put it in, right? So now we need to use a test point to figure out if it is true or not. So I can use any test point. Let's do this one, 1, 5. So let's put it in the equation. Y is 5, 2, 1 is negative, x is 1, 1 minus 1 squared. I don't know what sign goes here yet because I still need to see if this part is true or not. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So 0 times 2 is 0 plus 3. Still don't know the sign. 5 is greater than 3 or less than 3? Greater than. Awesome. And that's what I had. That's the same sign I had. So it was correct. Okay? Makes sense? And that's it. I want you guys to try these your turn questions the first especially these ones, and then we'll go over them.